Welcome everyone to the GrowthZone sponsored webinar, Tools to Improve Your Marketing Reach, with marketing expert Beth Brodovsky. GrowthZone Association Management Software helps over 4,000 member-based organizations grow and retain membership, generate revenue, engage and communicate with members and prospects, and streamline their day-to-day operations. If you want to learn more how GrowthZone can help your organization, request a demo on our homepage. Thank you, Beth. She's driving. She's pointing to the button there. You can watch a tour or request a demo on our homepage, growthzone.com. But that is not why you're here today. You're here to hear Beth. So let's get started. Promoting your organization's programs and events is time-consuming and expensive work. Whether you're a huge team or a department of one, it's hard to get beyond your audience and reach new people. As the president of Iris Creative Group, Beth Brodovsky works with nonprofit leaders to focus their audience and move them to action. Today, Beth will help you build a communications toolkit for your ambassadors to improve your marketing reach. There you go, Beth. It's all you.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I'm so thrilled to see so many people are here from, all over the country. Some of you are in the smoke zone with me. I am here in Philadelphia. And if you look on the map right now, it's maroon. I've never seen anything be maroon right over top of where I live. It's sort of crazy. So I'm happy to be inside and here with all of you today. So I am a firm that is 25, we're 26 years old, and we work with all sorts of like nonprofits, associations, museums, all those kinds of people. And the funny thing is, people think that the main constraint that we're dealing with is money. Oh, nonprofits don't have any money. Well, that's not true. Lots of different types of nonprofits, associations. You guys have budgets. Your employees, you have budgets, you have things. What I hear over and over and over again is that the bigger constraint than money is time. And I'd be curious, like, how are you guys feeling like that? What's your bigger constraint in your organizations, in your associations? Is it money? Is it time? What stresses you out the most? Because what we see a lot is that marketing can become an afterthought. Yeah, all of it, both. Yeah, time for sure. So a lot of times what happens is that marketing is an afterthought. I mean, do any of you ever feel like that sometimes marketing is an afterthought? A lot of times we lovingly call the people in our community /marketers, because maybe you got hired to do programs management or events management, and there's that like visible or invisible / director of marketing title that's behind your name that nobody actually told you about. Sometimes that happens a lot. And so sometimes, because it's not actually anyone's official job, it can become everyone's job. That it's just something that, everyone's doing their own thing. And then if you are the marketer for your organization, have you ever stood in the back of a room and somebody puts their slides up and you just want to cry? Or you looked at some social media post that somebody else put out there online and you thought, what? How did they do that? When marketing is distributed among everybody, what often can happen is that brand can break down because everyone's just out there doing their thing. There's no central management. There's no guidance. People are often doing what they can do. Sometimes it's because they don't have direction and they need a thing. And sometimes it's because they want to do what they want to do and they're trying to get around marketing. We all know that. So the other thing that can happen is that it's nobody's job. So sometimes everyone wants to do it, but sometimes it's like, you touched him last kind of situation. And so it's nobody's job. And so, you've got people that are, trying to create materials. Maybe they don't have technical skills. Maybe they don't have the background or even know what to do. And, I've seen a lot of people get thrown into, here's all our passwords. Good luck, right? I don't know if any of you have that. Yeah. So Heidi's saying staff skills, time, and management. And so management is really, really huge. It's a big issue. And a lot of times what happens is that marketing then just becomes an impossible job. For those of you that are doing this work, that are responsible for the marketing, what I see all the time is you might have, you either got hired under a ridiculous job description. People are always sending me job descriptions and asking me to review them. I don't know, how many of you have a job description that reads like, we want you to be the marketing director. It could be anything from marketing coordinator all the way up to marketing director, anything. And you need to have, great people skills, be able to write, be a graphic designer, be a video editor, film video, edit video, understand and execute, post things on social media, be a strategist, so help us decide what we should be doing, also manage ads, plan the events, and make sure that there's a period and commas in the right place on every sentence. It's like this ginormous behemoth, unmanageable job. I graduated a very long time ago, and when I started working, I was working at a nonprofit, and my first title was so narrow that I was a technical illustrator. And then when I got a promotion, I became a graphic designer, and then I got a promotion and I was an art director, and marketing was a whole separate department. And so often, you're supporting everyone. You're supporting the events program. You're supporting the programs people. You might even, I know you guys are associations, but you might have a foundation that's part of your organization that wants your help with fundraising, and you're just stretched so thin. And so usually the answer is this, that like, it's really all the above, that you're in this situation where you're trying to do more. You've got executives and leadership and board members asking you for more reach. And the old, why didn't we get on whatever, fill in the blank? Why aren't we on TikTok? Like how many times you just want to be like rolling your eyes when somebody walks into your office with some version of more that somebody wants, that is either not going to help or is just actually impossible. People come in and say, we wish we were, Oprah's not on anymore, but it used to be like, how do we get on Oprah? It's that same concept of, how do we get on the news? And there's not that sort of ability to do as much as you are hired to do. And so that's what we want to talk about today. Is a lot of times in organizations, there's one person doing the marketing or two or three. Right? Yeah. Okay, so Kristen's gotten that actual Oprah request, right? And it's so funny. Sometimes people are actually requesting that, not even knowing it's not even a show. Let's be on Ellen too while we're at it. And so we want to talk today about how you can stay on brand, be consistent, make your life easier with the things that you have to create. But how could you, in addition to that, enroll some help in what you're doing in a way that allows you to function in some areas of your job a little bit more like the traffic manager than like the hurdy-gurdy, banging the cymbals, banging the drum, playing the guitar all at the same time. So we're going to try. So we're going to talk a little bit about this, and you'll throw in questions. I do have the chat up. It may start flying fast. And if there's a key question that comes out of it, we'll try and pull it. If not, you're going to have ways to reach me at the end, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Okay. So a lot of what we're going to talk about, the goal is to extend that reach, get out there more broadly. One of the things that's been transformative in the work that we've done probably over the last 26 years, but I'm really noticing it in the last few years with our clients, is this concept of creating a toolkit. Back in the day, like in the early days when I started my company, we're a creative firm. So we're doing things in Illustrator and Photoshop and InDesign, and not everybody has access to or funding for those tools or skills to manage things that are in those tools. So people would say, well, could you give us a template? But could you do that template in Word? And my staff would cry. And I'd say, please, we'll figure it out. And we would figure it out-ish, but it never really looked great. And that's because things would be inconsistent. They wouldn't be the same everywhere. And so the goal is, how can you create things that have a high level of consistency in whatever tools that you need? And so this is an example of an organization that has a program. So in this case, it's a program. You guys have programs. This is a program about communicating the value of oysters to the environment. It's such a niche specific little thing. And so this is an organization that's responsible for managing the coastal area of all of New Jersey. And so this is a program that they only had so much staff time to devote to making it look great. And so this is what was happening. They had a bunch of different colors. They had a bunch of different looks. Things were sort of starting to digress. I call it the brand diaspora, right? When like things start to wander off. And that happens because people are busy. Sometimes it's because like the staff in-house has changed over. Sometimes it's because you're using a different freelancer, or you couldn't get the files from the last designer, or, you know, you've all worked with graphic designers. The new one wants to do something new. And so things start wandering off. And the next thing you know, there's like a lack of brand consistency that when you put this back out into the marketplace starts to diminish that recognition that you're trying to build, especially when it's a small program that doesn't have a huge budget and a lot of exposure. And it already is mixed in with all the other things that you're doing. So it might be a program for you. It might be an event. It might be your trade show. So what we did was we started at the brand level. So that's part of it is, you know, thinking about what you need to be doing and what consistency you need. Like what kind of consistency do you need to plan so that when you are trying to broaden your reach, I mean, some of broadening your reach is getting it out into the hands of people, but you have to roll back even further and say, what am I actually putting into their hands, right? So it's, I mean, it's so little. We still have a bunch of different colors, but now you see we have a light blue and a dark blue, and these are the blues. We have a consistent yellow. And then we made all of these different things, but then we turned them into assets. We broke these things apart, and I'm going to show you later how we put them, how we distribute them and gave them to people. But we basically created a bunch of different tools, and we started at the brand level and then put them back into their hands. So building a brand toolkit is so amazing. It can be so helpful. And that means things like picking your colors, doing all of these key things. So when you're building a brand toolkit so that you can help expand your reach, expand distribution, that allows you to create things in a way that you can distribute that workload to less skilled people. So that may mean building something in Word sometimes. It may mean creating a template in PowerPoint. Believe it or not, you may not realize it, but in PowerPoint, you can make your page any size you want. So you can make a square graphic in PowerPoint, put images on it, and call it a social media graphic. People wouldn't ever think necessarily to use PowerPoint. Maybe you could go online and use Google Slides. Think about the tools that your team, the people you would love to have help you out, distribute, either help make the work, or the people who you think may not have the skills or the time to help you create things, but if you gave them something that they recognized that they would be distributed for you. So people that may not have your skills, design skills, or may not have your tools, like if you're using InDesign or Illustrator, you might not have a budget in your organization to get that out to everybody, or the Lord knows you don't have the time to train them if they don't know how to do it. So you want to use tools that are familiar to the people that are giving it to. So you want to start by asking people, like Sylvia says, she uses PowerPoint and Canva. So ask people what are, not just what you're using in your in-house team. Think about who you think might have the capacity to help. And it might be your board. It might be volunteers. You might want to create a little team of volunteers for something. Maybe it's a team for your trade show or your event or something. Maybe it's a standing team that's your, communications delivery team that you're going to put together. Talk to them about what they like or what will be easy to train them on. And then invest in key assets. And so that might be professional. So when I say from professionals, that might mean you. That might mean what are some key assets that you can build that you could then put out into Canva, into a folder that has some PowerPoint templates, up into Google Drive that you could put into Google Slides or Google Images that you could distribute. So maybe you're the professional that's creating a toolkit of tools, or maybe you don't have the time or the skills or the capacity for that. And so you would bring in a freelancer, an agency like mine, somebody to help you create that baseline of brand decisions and brand tools that then you could take over and run with it from there. So this is just an amazing way that you can really support your supporters in sharing. So some of it is execution, but also if you can take the things that you create out of InDesign, out of Illustrator, out of whatever you're doing and put them into things like a shared folder on a Google Drive or a Dropbox or Canva, you then all of a sudden put some stuff out there in a way that people can say, oh yeah, I can grab that and share that. The goal is to reduce friction and make it easy for people. And so we're going to start with Canva. So how many are you guys using Canva? You know, do you use it? Do your teams use it? Do people that maybe aren't designers use it? Yeah. So, you know, Canva is one of those things that, you know, people say, oh my gosh, it's, you know, Canva's here. It's going to take your job away. It really doesn't. It's everything is just a tool. And it's how can we use a tool? And it's funny, actually, at 2 o'clock today, it's 2 o'clock Eastern time, my team is actually teaching a class on how to use the brand toolkit features in Canva, because lots of people know how to use Canva, but did you guys know that there's this new feature? See over here on the left, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but see this little button over here that says brand? Is anybody using the brand toolkit? Oh, it's fantastic. So the brand toolkit allows you to post your logos, and remember, you don't just have one logo. You might need your white logo, your black logo, your one color logo, your full color logo. You can put your colors, look over here, you can put your brand colors in here, and you can put your fonts in here. You can also go even further and make brand templates in Canva so that people don't muck up your stuff, right? And so it's fantastic. Yes, and yes, there is space in the Canva training that we are doing today. So I don't want to distract this, but I will send, if you put your, I'm trying to think what you can do. We'll get to that. So I'll make sure I talk about it when we get to the end. So this is that same organization. And then we went into Canva, and you can create actually 3 different types of things in Canva. You can create static graphics. Don't mess with this thing. You can download it and do nothing else. And you can do that in Canva, but that's just basically putting a JPEG up and using Canva. We would say in the design world, we would use this we would call that a digital asset management system. So it's basically taking your graphics and putting them up into a place that people can access and download them. And that is really, really helpful because people are familiar with Canva. You know, you might have volunteers out there that you've never thought to integrate and to use in your system, but maybe they're the chair of their PTO and they're making flyers. Maybe they volunteer for their church. There are probably people out there that are using Canva and love Canva and wouldn't maybe mind jumping in and helping out with doing things in there if you gave them a little direction. So number one, you can post things in Canva, in Dropbox, in Box, in all of those sharing tools, right? The second thing you can do in Canva is you can create like a base, like you can create a graphic that's editable. So for example, this one over here that says fun fact, there's a version of this that's static. It's a graphic you can't touch. There's another version of it that you can edit, that you can change the words. You can change these words and you can change out this graphic. You can make things as editable and non-editable as you want. Like we could have made fun fact, the shell and the blue and the logo in a JPEG, posted that JPEG up, and then only let people change these words that are on all of those. So you have all of those different levels. You can even take it up one more level and use the brand templates. See over here where it says templates? You can then build a template that has those things that are still editable to you, the owner of the canvas space, but locks them down for the users that you're sharing them with so that they don't move where the logo is, that they can't change what the font is. And so you don't have people doing things like putting crazy curly fonts in or making things super tiny. So it's fantastic and it's really, really helpful. So that was editable templates. The other thing that you can do in Canva is, and also in any, like if you don't want to use Canva, Google Drive, all those different places, is in your designs. If you look, I'm going to go back. Look, we've got this one. This might look like the same shell, but I have a team of illustrators. So we actually drew a whole bunch of different shells, and this organization is in New Jersey. So then we made this image you can see right here, where we made the state of New Jersey out of a bunch of oyster shells. I think it's awesome. And so what we did was we took those graphics and in Canva, I think they're called assets or they're called elements. They're called elements. And we put them up into the images folder with transparent backgrounds. And now these are different. We turn them vertical, upside down. They're all different ways. And these little assets are here that you can just put them in. And so if you don't, maybe you don't know all the different templates or tools you need to make right now, but if you post these pieces, these elements up, maybe in your world, there's not anything as fancy as an illustration. Maybe you have like a swirl that you use all the time, or you have a certain way you like to draw a fancy dotted line. Everybody has little graphic components that you use throughout your brand that kind of make you recognizable, and that's repeatable. And you can put them up here if you want to either give yourself a little more flexibility, or maybe you have a team of people that do have some graphic design skills. You might want to say, here's a bunch of assets. Have at it, play with them as you want. I love that what it does is it gives you that full range from locking down that brand to very narrow cattle shoots to making it wider. But overall, over the course of this, you want to think about how wide do you want those cattle shoots? At what point are we giving people so much freedom that they're going to make poor choices, that they're going to like go rogue and do their own things? So that I wanted you to kind of think about, because we don't always think about, all the different things you might be able to do with a tool like this, or it doesn't even have to be Canva. Fantastic. Okay, so getting off of Canva, Box, all of that stuff, you could go the complete opposite end of the route. So this, and those was, lots of illustrations, fun. The style of things doesn't even matter. It's about getting your brand tools to look like your brand. And this is the Fair Labor Association in Washington, D.C. And they hired a designer to do their logo, but then they brought us in to translate that logo into a look, like turn this into a whole thing. If you want to actually hear more about how that transition happened, I have a free webinar that I did with the communications director that's actually accessible through our nonprofit Toolkit site. And also I think it's on YouTube as well. So it's a really cool discussion on how do you take a logo and like turn it into a look. It's challenging. You think when you have a logo that your brand is done, but it's not. We had to do a lot of different things. We had to create an expanded color palette that we had to create. And then, so if you look over here on the bottom left, see these extra colors that are in this brand? They wanted all these bright extra colors, but as we were working through figuring out the brand, every time we added all those extra colors in it, it started to look like a circus. And so for this organization, we decided that the extra colors, what we would call in branding a secondary color palette, was just going to be used as like a throw pillow in the design. Do you know what I mean? Like you're not going to paint your walls and get your couch all in yellow, but you might have gray walls, a blue couch, and a yellow pillow, right? So what's your throw pillow colors? You want to think about that. And it's not just having that palette. You got to think about how to use them, especially if you're going to do something like put your brand toolkit up into Canva for other people to use. And so in this case, this is an organization that has lots of text and lots of it. Canva is not awesome at things that are multi-page or have lots and lots of detailed text, right? So we did these in a combination of Word and InDesign. But before we did that, we talked to the client and made sure, what do you have access to? What are you doing? And we really thought about, okay, well, we have InDesign, but we're not awesome at InDesign. And so we built the templates, we built the toolkits, and then we in InDesign, there's things called layers. And so you can put things on a layer and lock that layer. It's not permanently locked. Anybody that knows how to use InDesign knows how to unlock a layer. There's no way to make it like a brand toolkit in Canva where you can't touch something. But we did one way you can make your tools a little safer in InDesign for other people to use them so you can distribute that work is to separate things in InDesign or in Illustrator into layers that are locked. And you can also turn a layer invisible so that they don't know why they can't touch it, but these people did have InDesign. They had some rudimentary skills. And the content that they needed was so complex. That was really the best way for us to go. So then the other thing that we do is if we do a complicated template in InDesign, we then do a Zoom like this and do a training that's recorded. and on how to use it, that we walk them through and show them how it is with InDesign open. And that way they have a recorded training that they can go back to. And then if the person that hired us to do it leaves, I used to say hit by a bus. I've learned to say win the lottery. Then that training is there for like the next person to come in. It's really important when you're creating tools for your toolkit to think not about what your skill set is, but what is the skill set that this position that you're in is budgeted for, right? Because you may know a little HTML. You may be hired to be a marketing coordinator, but coincidentally, you happen to have gone to art school, right? If the job is not budgeted for a graphic designer who's also a writer and also a marketing planner, and you're not necessarily going to get all those skills in, you want to make sure that you're building for sustainability. Does that make sense? So you want to set up things like your style and your colors. So this is a template. So we did a template in Word. And so here's a thing that people don't always know in Word. Word has kind of sort of basic style sheets. You know, if you're a designer and you're used to InDesign, we have really locked down style sheets that we can work with. But over in the styles pane, so this is the styles pane right here in Word, right? And you can set something over here to look how you want it to look, indents, color, size, font, all that stuff. And then you can set a new style. So a little trick that we do, of course, this one, of course, doesn't show it. I grabbed the wrong, this one didn't have it. But when we do something in Word that has some fancy styles and particular colors, and you put it into this style, we put an asterisk in front of it because then it'll pull the style name to the top of this list, right? You can also, in this, see over here down in the bottom where it says list, in Word, you can change recommended to only styles in use. And then it'll get rid of all of Word's nonsense that it puts in there, and it will only show you the styles that you're actually using. However, if you have a style that you've built in your style sheet that the template isn't using, it will also hide that too, which is why I like to put the asterisk on it so that anybody that's using the template knows these are the designated styles that are for this template. So next thing that's really, really helpful to do is to document. You've made all these choices. You've picked fonts, you've picked colors. You might even have some of these little graphic assets or elements that you've decided or what you're going to use for your brand. Come up with some way to document it. You might do a beautiful, fancy InDesign, lovely piece like this, but you don't have to. You can make a Word document that just has a list of what you've decided. Do something to document it somewhere. We had a client that had a color that we always called burgundy and he always called maroon. And let me tell you, over the 18 years we worked with this client, that color wandered off into all sorts of different colors and maroons and different things. You know, it was a school, and they at one point they got new stadium seats that were burgundy-ish maroon. And then they wanted to get jerseys that matched the color of the seats. And the next thing you know, everyone said, well, I want to pick a print color for this brochure that matches the jerseys. And we had a style guide that had like maybe 5 different colors of burgundy to maroon, if you even think of those as different colors. So you want to document the colors that are in use. And if you do anything like change it a little bit, you want to document what that usage is for. Otherwise, all your stuff is just going to look slightly off. All right. So here's another example of something that can be done as a way to expand your marketing reach. So this is an organization. This is actually from ages ago, but it was the most comprehensive one I could show. So I grabbed it anyway. So this is a ginormous global expo from the International Sleeps Project Association, because you guys know there's an association for everything, right? And so they hired us to develop the concept and the core pieces. So we came up with the look, we came up with the language, and then we came up with, we developed the sponsorship piece, the invitation to the event, the search piece, you know, the reminders, a couple of sort of key pieces. And in doing it, we went into this consciously saying, we need to come up with a design that has some of these graphic design assets, some of these pieces, these elements that even if we weren't the ones designing it, we could give these pieces back to the client and they would know what to do with it. They would be able to take it and run with it. So these were the pieces we did that built out the concept. And, you know, if any of you guys have ever had an event or a trade show, you know, like very few associations could really hire an agency to do every single little thing that you need to do for a trade show. Some of it because of cost, but once again, time, and not just how much time it takes, but like if you're doing an event, you need something at like midnight the night before the event, and I'm not working, right? So there's exactly so many last minute signs. You forgot this, a tag, a label. So you need to have control over certain aspects of your look and feel so that you can do things with it. So here's just a few examples. Like we gave these little dotted line circles in all different colors. We gave that background graphic with the soft look. We gave it to them in all those little separate pieces, just like we did with the shells. And they were able to take it and build a website and do more brochures and do all of their, we didn't touch a single sign. They did all of their signage, every little piece, and they had their fonts, their colors, their look, their pieces, and they had a couple of core designed pieces that they could look at for reference, and it saved them a ton of money, just made it easier and made it flow better and just worked with their work style. I always say good marketing is 50% how well it works for the intended use and 50% how well it works for the people who have to execute it. Because if it's difficult, time consuming, or expensive for you to execute yourselves, you're not going to do as much. You're gonna drag your feet. Like it's just going to be harder and not as much will get done. So another way to look at it is, another kind of a toolkit. This is, I'm trying to show you different ways to pull tools and resources together so that you can gather a group of either staff, volunteers, board members, different people, maybe sponsors. For trade shows, we often create toolkits. I don't know if I think, I'm going to have that in a minute. So I won't sneak ahead. So this is a university. This is Yale University, their law school, and they have reunion every year. And so it's every year they have the reunion, and it's pretty much the same materials that they distribute to their reunion volunteers, but every year they have to get updated and changed over to like, it's not 23 anymore, now it's 24. And different things change, but there's how do you form your committee? Here's some examples of emails you can send, and social media posts and letters, and just all the different pieces, components, and elements that a volunteer that says, I'm going to participate in this and make a commitment. So some of you, while you're not universities, this is what a university does, is they take their class chairs and they invite them, and they invite other people to come and be, a committee chair for next year's reunion. That is not unlike what you do with maybe your big conference, your expo, your big event. You're going to have a conference committee. And so this is a microsite that puts in one place all the stuff that those people need to be able to attract everything that they have to attract. And in their case, it's to get people to come to the reunion and get people to donate to the reunion. In your case, it's sponsors and sales and volunteers and all of the other things that you might need. And we built it into this microsite that now is a home base for doing that year over year. Interestingly, in the middle of this microsite is stuff that has to change. And so we could have done it in a way that we would come back and update it every year. I mean, it's Yale, they have a budget, right? But it's not just about money, right? Again, it's not always about money. It's about efficiency and what's the best use of everyone's time. What is worth turning over to an agency, and what is just a little thing that you have all the pieces to, that it just makes more logical sense for you to manage yourself. And so in the middle of this website, there's these little charts and graphics that are, built based on data that Yale has. And it's a big university, so there was a massive security review we had to go through, that they weren't actually allowed to give us a lot of the data. And so what we did was we built a template in Canva just for this one little piece of the website that they can change and update every year themselves, save as a JPEG, And then we built the website in a way that that it's very easy for them to go in and update that section of the website with this data. So whatever way you're doing things, it's so important to think about how you like to work. I mean, to expand your reach, you've got to think about the things that you do well, that you have the time for, that you do best. For some things like this, if we're not the subject matter experts, it's going to take longer for them to transfer data, information, knowledge to us to then do something than it would for them to say, hey, every year we need 12 charts and they need to have these components on it. Can you build us a thing that we can then do that ourselves with our data ourselves when we want to do it? And it's really working terrifically. Okay, so I've shown you a bunch of things that range from medium complex to complex. I don't want you to leave this thinking that's the only way to do things. Another way that you can expand your reach is to be very, very simple, is to ask people to do one thing for you, not ask them to become a committee member, volunteer, part-time graphic designer, marketer. That's a big commitment, right? But you may have people involved in your programs. You might have speakers. You might have, different people that you're connected to that you just want to say, here's an image, here are some words, take this, and if you could put this on your social media, we'd be truly grateful. And so you don't have to build a whole toolkit for something like that. This is even like, there's a lot of yellow in this with different things, but I have to say, this is an email that I got from the conference chair of a conference for which I'm a speaker in August. I'm going to be speaking at this conference. And from time to time, they send me an email that says, here's a new graphic we made, if you'd like to post it. Here's a graphic of you that for your session, if you'd like to post it. Here are some resources if you'd like to share about this conference in general that you can do. But you can see that this is like what, 1 to 5 bullets that they gave me. We've done toolkits for large events that are 30 pages long. 30 pages long. It's really intense because there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things going on. So, it's just quick. And all of these underlined links where they go to is a Google Drive. And so sometimes they send out emails like this that says, here's a link where you can see all of the different graphics. By all means, go there if you find something. Sometimes they send me a link and says, here's a graphic and here's an example of a post that's written like a Mad Libs that I can like insert your name here, insert your session name here, that I can then just update myself. Like see this last bullet here. Hi, name. I'm excited to be speaking at this nonprofit conference. And it gives me a place that I could just put in somebody else's name in there. Or if it might be like, hi, I'm Beth Brodovsky, and I'm speaking on, at the Nonprofit Consultant Conference on how to grow your business through adding staff. All those different things work. So you can do something more complicated. You can do something more simply. So here's some examples of what, like when I click on those links, this is where I go. So you're going to see that so they do general conference images, but if you have sponsors, if you have speakers for your events, and you're not giving them a custom, shall we say, vanity graphic or ego boost graphic or whatever you want to call it, speakers speak because we love to be on stages. We love the attention and we do it for marketing. We do it to promote ourselves. So anything that you can do to help your speakers, make it easy for them to promote themselves and them speaking at your event, we are media hounds, right? We love doing it. We just get busy and we don't have time. So you can think of an event that you might be having that has one or more tons of speakers. All of those people are minions for you that you can give them something to do and let them put it out into the world. You may want to start with, here's a graphic and a post and see if they do it and see who takes the bait and follows up, and maybe give the ones that actually take action a few more. And the ones that maybe don't have action, you could send them an email and say, is there something we could do for you that would make it easy for you? Utilize your speakers and customize them. This is basically all the exact same template post. The only thing that's different in it is they updated it with my date and my time, my name, my speaking session, and my picture. Simple. You don't have to go as far as pictures if it's too much work to gather them, but it's such a little thing. And it's the difference between asking a speaker to share a general post about your conference, your trade show, your program, and asking them to share a picture about their participation in it. Trust me, you will see a difference. So this is another set. Now, this is one that we did that's literally just, it's in Dropbox. And so this is a conference that had a lot of big name speakers, big name speakers. And in this case, this design actually existed from a previous year. I just have to say that out loud. And so we picked up the design and then did iterations on it and modified it and then customized toolkits for the speakers for the sponsors. And so we created speaker toolkits. We also created sponsor toolkits. And not only is this something that will help your sponsors market on behalf of you, it's also something that you can put into your sponsor packages to promote. Like a lot of times it's, well, you're going to get your name, you're going to get your logo on the bottom of our website, and you're going to get your logo on the opening slide, and your logo is going to be places. But imagine if in addition to that, you actually helped your sponsor market the fact that they had a sponsorship with your organization and gave them ways that they could talk about their sponsorship. When you get a sponsor and they give you a logo and then they show up at the trade show or whatever, they show up at the event, it can be hard to sometimes get that sponsor to feel engaged and to actually see the benefit of what they've done. I do a lot of work. Our work expands into more traditional nonprofit organizations that do a lot of fundraising. And the one thing that we've learned from donor communications is you've got to ask, thank, and show impact. Ask them to do something, thank them for doing it, and demonstrate the impact of their participation. I feel like it works exactly the same with volunteers, with sponsors, with speakers. You've got to help them see how great it was to be part of this event, this program, this organization, and really get them to feel it, really feel it. I am a volunteer. I'm actually the chair of a program at a school that is a trade school, and they have a design program, and it's a lot of work. And the first year I was on that program, I was like, this is a little more than I bargained for, right? This is more than I signed up for. And I was getting ready to quit. And so we came to the next meeting, the next school year, and we were about to start the meeting. And the teacher said, you know what, before we kick off the meeting, can we just walk down to the classroom? I just want to show you something. And we walked in and she showed us row after row after row of bright new 27-inch iMac computers on brand new desks and brand new chairs, looking like a professional studio. And I had my aha moment. I had that moment of understanding all that work we did the year before led to these kids being able to sit down at professional workstations and learn. And it was transformational. What can you do to show that? And little things like showing that you want to partner with them in marketing, that you're treating them like a partner, not just like a bank, really transforms your relationships with sponsors. So this is another toolkit that we did. So if you have an existing campaign or an event that you have, you could use this methodology to make it bigger. So this happens to be a statewide fundraising campaign for the state of New Jersey. And when we got involved with the nonprofit that was running it, they were making, I'm pretty sure they said $70,000, $80,000 a year. And we started creating toolkits. This is the one where a couple of the toolkits are 30 pages long. We created an ideas guide. So sometimes it's about creating assets. Sometimes it's about showing people things that they could do to be helpful that they can then do on their own. Sometimes we have a case to success. We've just added on every year. At the end of the year, we ask people what made it easier, what else could help, where are you still having struggles? And every time we learn what made it easier, we'll do more of that. You know, where are you still having struggles? What would be helpful if we could fill in those gaps? Added. So think of your programs as evolutionary. Whatever I'm showing you here, you don't have to, I know a nonprofit marketer that, excuse me, a business marketer that says, don't compare your middle to somebody else's, like somebody else's middle to your beginning. So wherever you are, there's going to be people anywhere along this continuum. Look to what other people are doing to learn. Look at if you're seeing another event out there that's getting a lot of buzz, getting a lot of sharing, getting a lot of things, use those things to say, wow, what did they do? What are they learning? You know, I would even say, call them up, call up that association, call up that organization and say, I really loved how your marketing looked really successful. Do you have, 15, 20 minutes that you could just tell me a little bit about what you did to make it successful? I have found that people are incredibly generous, even if they're even sort of competitors. So you can expand as you go. In this one, we're now at the stage where we have a Google Doc that's many pages long, that we have individual graphics. So these are download ready to use graphics for all these different platforms. And then we this year built that editable Canva toolkit here, all different sizes, all different things. It's extensive. And so the thing with extensive is you have to think about whether that's a benefit or whether it's a detriment. Sometimes when you give people too much, what ends up happening is you end up in a paradox of choice. There are people that could look at this and go, oof, I don't even know where to start, right? And they'll get overwhelmed and they'll walk away, right? Kristen's saying curation is essential, right? And so sometimes, like this is a screenshot of things. So in Canva, in Dropbox, in Google, wherever you go, the folder is your friend, right? You can make a folder that's like, this is just for this committee. This is my folder for my sponsors. This is my folder for my volunteers. It does behoove you to separate things a little bit so that people don't get overwhelmed, right? This has grown. This is our 4th year in, which is why it's so expansive and so extensive. And we had 100 volunteers working on this project. So we're at the stage now where we needed that much help. But with all of these assets, all of this reach, all of this extra help, we took that event that was like $70,000 and now this year it was 2.3 million, right? It works. It really works. And it reduced the workload on the 2-person in the association, the organization that runs this has 2 staff members. There's no way they could have done all of this on their own. So that they were basically the hub in the middle of us as the creation firm, and they recruited 100 volunteers to distribute. So it's just a different model, different way of thinking about it. Even if you're well-staffed, getting help with distribution is fantastic. So this is what came out of it, right? It just was everywhere. And we saw a little bit of everything. Some people used our templates and modified them. Some people used our templates, didn't change anything. Some people went their own way and did their own thing. But overall, this was a statewide thing. The mass of media that came out for the state of Delaware on this 24-hour giving day was tremendous, which brings me back to brand, right? I'm a brand strategist at heart. So go back to that very first thing I showed you, that oyster session, and how we took that stuff that looked a little bit like everything and tightened it up into a very specific, distinctive, visually noticeable color palette so that it would be eye-catching when it's in this morass of social media that you're going to see out there. And what happens a lot of times as in-house people is that you're going to get bored. Or you're going to have a graphic designer out there that wants to do something different every year because we're designers. That's what we love, different. There's a difference between a graphic designer and a brand designer. You have to think about brand means narrow. Brand means focused. Brand means making decisions about, of all the things that could change, what are the things we can change this year to make this look fresh and bright and new without going so far that people now disconnect this event, this look, this feel from our organization as a whole. It's really important to take a little bit of time to think about that. And so this event really got tremendous reach. So this whole thing, we're all coming back to reach. So this is just, I think this is one day, 651,000, reach, 1.5 million impressions. I can't remember how I think over this time, but the reach just has grown and oh no, it's not, it's a longer period of time. So it's a couple of weeks that it's a couple of weeks that it's looking at it, but the actual event was 24 hours on March 6th. So that's why we looked at it in this tight period of time, because in this case, because it was a campaign, we're not really looking for year long. We're looking for, did it spike and come back down? This little curve is exactly what we're looking for. You may be looking for something else. And so the interesting stat that we got out of this is, so we had 100 volunteers, but we had 600 organizations that participated, right? And the organizations that had volunteers who used a toolkit raised 31% more money than organizations that didn't. So it really does, not only does it expand your reach, it expands your results. So that is me. We have a few minutes left, right? That never happens that I actually finish up a little bit early, but we have a few minutes left for some questions. And I bet we probably do have some things.
We do have a couple things, Beth. Thank you so much. That was a lot of information, but it was very, very compelling information. I enjoyed it myself as a marketing professional as well. One question that was in the Q&A was, do you have any recommendations on how to keep things very branded and consistent while also saving on paper products and printing costs, especially for events? And my first thought was to just say QR codes, put everything online and point them with QR codes, but the consistency and the branding as well. Can you?
Absolutely. QR codes. I mean, it's so funny because QR codes were a big thing and then they completely disappeared from the world. And then the pandemic came and they are back with a vengeance, right? They're fantastic. And I'm seeing them everywhere. I mean, speakers are, I don't have one on this one, but I'm putting them up on screens. So, in this case, you're getting the downloads, and the recording of this through GrowthZone. But, in other cases where I'm speaking, if I have a little giveaway or certain things that I do, I'll put a QR code on there. Putting QR codes on the things that you do are fantastic. So that's really good. The other thing that's important, I'm a designer and a brand designer. So the torture of having color consistency across different types of paper, different types of printing, screens, print is like the bane of my existence, right? At some point you just got to breathe and meditate on it. It's not going to be perfect. So that's fine. The other thing that I've seen, so in addition to QR codes, I've seen people print out a full flyer, information with a QR code on it, rather than printing a stack of say it's an info sheet that you have at a trade show table. Or something like that, rather than printing out a whole stack of them for people to take away with them, they can do a QR code where they can take a picture of it and say that they want it. I've also seen people using that for, if you do have events that require donation, spreading out cards with the link directly to the donation that have the QR code on it on the tables at an event is working so well. I can't even begin to tell you how well that is working for people. So that's phenomenal. QR codes, use them everywhere that you can. You can also use a QR code in a separate place. So a lot of times we do something, I talked to you a minute ago about the paradox of choice. And so what we'll see things is sign up for our event, give us money, or like us on Facebook. Out of those three choices, what's the easiest for somebody to do? Like us on Facebook. So what happens is when you ask for too much, and when you ask for things that are in different channels, I think I actually just wrote an article about this. When you ask for things that it's I want you to do this, this, or that, people are going to choose the thing that is easiest for them, which may not be the thing that you want. So separating that by having somewhere else, maybe on the check-in table, have a separate QR code that says, like us on Facebook or on our socials over here, and not doing a brand grab. You know, we want everything all the time, everything everywhere all at once, right? So we want you to sign up for our event. We want you to volunteer. We want you to give us money. We want you to like us on all the socials, as I have here, right? You know, like I've got a whole list of things here. If you've got time and context, I'm sitting here, the slide is sitting here. You've got time to look at it. In the slides that you're going to be getting, these are all linkable. So you can grab and connect with me on any of these links. And so I really think QR codes is probably the number one way I'm seeing people not do things on print. The other thing that we're starting to do, it's a new service that we're onboarding, is better ways to tell stories and to communicate things, is to turn things into like that microsite that we just said. So there's microsite. We're also starting to use a storytelling platform to create short form, long form stories, things that you can look at and work just as well on your desktop as they do on your mobile. Sending things by email, especially long things by email, people are pinching and scrolling, and it's really, really difficult. And so digital publication technology is really has evolved a lot in the last few years. It used to be just hideous and terrible. And that page turning thing doesn't work on mobile. So distributing, like, you know, something that might have been a newsletter, a print newsletter in the past, or a magazine or your annual report, turning it into like a one-page flowing website story, something like that, that can be short or long and connect to other things, as another way that it's like, for me, like the one that's on the tip of my mind, because we're just starting to do this with clients and it's really working well. And then the last thing I guess I just want to say here while I'm here on the side, because I want to switch to GrowthZone slide for you all, is if anybody is interested in that class that we're running in a little over an hour, nonprofittoolkit.net. I think it's right up on the homepage there that you can get to it directly from there.
That was one of the questions I was going to ask, because
Yes.
I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I was like, I don't have the link copied, and this is taking over all my screens right now. But
right.
So Iris Creative is a brand strategy, brand management, marketing firm. Like, we do all of the executional work. And what happened is, over the years, we realized we work with all sizes and all skill levels of clients. And a lot of people that end up doing marketing in organizations don't come from a marketing background. I lovingly call you, slash marketers, but I often say that my real job is to teach marketing to theater majors, right? Because people come into this role from all kinds of different backgrounds, right? And you don't always have the time to get the latest or the changes or keep up with the trends, or maybe you came in as a graphic designer and now you need to learn to be a copywriter, or you came in as a marketer but you don't know how to do design or video editing. So we're trying to use Nonprofit Toolkit to help people in organizational roles who have these everything jobs build up the skills where there's holes.
Perfect. One other question that came up was, you had referred to Yale. There was a Canva hack for letting Yale update their own data. Kristen was asking, how does it actually patch in to the microsite without your needing to manipulate it more? Does Canva offer an embed code, or how does that work?
That's a really, really great question. So in Canva, there's the chart feature, like you can make charts. So that's not done in like an illustration side of it. They're using like the infographics. Of course, I'm not the one that actually uses Canva. They're all sitting in the other room. They're the ones that are going to be teaching the class today. And so they built the template using Canva's infographic chart features. Once that infographic, so we build it as a template. Then the client, Yale, can go in and update, adjust it every year, duplicate it for all the different ones that they need. Once they're done, all they have to do is save it as a JPEG. And then we built the microsite, like it's in WordPress. In the background of WordPress, there's that button that says upload picture, upload the picture. And because it's a template in Canva, it's automatically sized properly to not blow up your WordPress. Has anybody ever brought in a picture that you created somewhere else into your WordPress and it completely destroys it? So we built it to fit basically to put the round peg into the round hole. And so they match up perfectly.
Awesome. And then one last question. How do you feel about using smart signs where you just insert the sponsor logo and just keep switching out the sponsor logos? I think that's kind of like the templates you showed.
Mm-hmm. So my answer to that is ask your sponsors how they feel about that. It's good. Ask your sponsors if they think that that's an awesome, cool upgrade and opportunity for them, or are they going to feel that it's diminishing them because it's scrolling and it's not up all the time? I've seen both work. I think that there's some cool things that you can do with it. It definitely breeds efficiency, but you always have to look at where is efficiency and cost savings working at cross purposes to relationships investment. Like, things don't have an expense. They're an investment. Are you investing in the right things? And so if you do that to save money on printing, save money on signage, and your sponsors hate it, what is the cost of that? So that's where I would start, is to talk to your particular sponsors and find out, what do they think of it? Do they like it or not?
And Jennifer had a great point. It depends on how much, like, different levels of sponsorship may get different treatment as well.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Beth. I want to be respectful of your time and everyone else's time. It is a little after the hour now, but thank you all for attending. Again, GrowthZone.com if you want to request a demo. There's our QR code. You're welcome to ask us any questions on social media as well. We're here to help, and like Beth, help you with all your marketing and sales needs. So we're here. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you all. Come find me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Have a great day. Bye-bye.